When the first generation of Pokemon was brought to our original Game Boy console, one of the core mechanics of the game is something called Pokemon types. All creatures and their moves are assigned certain types, and each has several strengths and weaknesses both in attack and defense. In battle, you should use the Pokemon and moves that have a type advantage over your opponent. Generation 1 brought us the first 15 types, and Generation 2 gave us 2 more types in Dark and Steel to further balance out the game. And throughout most of Pokemon's lifespan, these were all the possible typings. That is, until Generation 6 brought us one last typing in Fairy, and from then on, 18 is the correct number of all the types in Pokemon. And I know what you're thinking, but out of all of these types, which one is the weakest or worst one?
Oh my god, how do you know that?
I too have pondered this thought for a while now, so after spending a lot of time thinking, today I have come up with the correct answer on what is the worst Pokemon type. What I'll be factoring into this video is type effectiveness, resistances, weaknesses, statistical averages of all Pokemon of that type, and how good of moves there are for that type. And as you guys know, videos like these are 100% my own opinion, but with the categories I'll be looking at, I'm going to be as objective as possible. But of course, leave a comment if you disagree. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And with that being said, let's get started. Well, as you can see, there are definitely a lot of Pokemon types. And to avoid making this video longer than it has to be, because people are already complaining about my intros being too long, I've decided to narrow down the typings I'll be talking about to just 3. This will also keep the video from being too redundant, because I think we all know by now that typings like Fairy, Normal, and Dragon aren't the worst typings. And with that, let's get into the first contestant. To start off this crusade of finding the worst type, I actually had a tough time choosing between 2 typings, that being Grass and Rock. Either one of these 2 could easily be the worst, so I decided to go ahead and ask you guys which one I should talk about on both YouTube and Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter, I need that verified check. And on both accounts, it was a victory to the Rock types, although I guess it would be more of a defeat in this case, but yeah, whatever. But just because I asked you guys which typing was worse doesn't necessarily mean it has no chance to be the worst. Because believe me, there is a lot of bad things about the Rock types. But before we get to that, let's list out the pros. Firstly, one of the best features about the Rock types is that stat-wise, on average, they have amazing defenses and physical attack. Not only that, but to partner with these amazing defenses, the typing also has the best hazard setup move in Stealth Rock, making the typing decent for tanking. And to top it all off, having resistances to types like Flying, Poison, Fire, and Normal only further helps out its defenses. But with all of that being said, there are a bevy of problems that greatly harm this typing. First, while yes, all of these defensive pros are good, it can easily be countered because of the absurd amount of types that it's weak to. There's Water, Fighting, Ground, Steel, pick your poison. And sure, Stealth Rock is a very good move to have, but that's really the only great move the Rock type has. I mean, think about it. When you take a look at all of the moves in its arsenal, there are literally no physical attacking moves that are 100% accurate. Besides, of course, Accelerock, but we'll get to that soon enough. And Diamond Storm, which is the closest to 100% accurate, is an exclusive move to Diancie. In fact, the 2 most useful Rock-type moves in the metagame are actually exclusive to certain Pokemon, Accelerock being the other move. And in the special attacking department, sure, there's Power Gem, which is 100% accurate and pretty powerful, but there's only 2 special attacking Rock moves, giving no room for versatility. So sure, you can have an amazing attack stat, but if you don't have any good accurate moves to make use of it, it doesn't really matter. Let's face it, the Rock type is just bad. Now, when first researching this video, a thought that never crossed my mind was considering that the bug typing was one of the worst types. I mean, come on, there are a lot of great competitive bugs like Scizor, Volcarona, and Mega Pinsir. But after some serious research into the type, there's really no question that bug deserves a spot in this video. Firstly, there's not that many good non-exclusive bug moves to choose from. Now sure, yes, there's X-Scissor, Bug Buzz, U-Turn, Leech Life, and Quiver Dance, but only having one really good special attacking bug move can make Pokemon like Volcarona very predictable. And going back to the whole Quiver Dance thing, it doesn't really help out bug Pokemon that much. The average stat line for fully evolved bug type Pokemon is way lower on the special attacking side than physical. And considering only Pokemon with a higher special attack stat line and bug-like qualities can get it, there aren't that many Pokemon that have access to it. Basically, the move pool for bug type moves is not as good as it seems, at least in terms of versatility. Speaking of which, this typing is also one of the most versatile for all of the wrong reasons, because there are a total of 7 types that resist it and 3 types that are strong against it. Having this many shortcomings in battle can make it very easy to counter, and even with its resistances to strong types like ground and fighting and strengths against dark and psychic, it's not enough to make up for all of these problems. Now, I'm not saying Pokemon can't succeed with this typing attached to it. Just look at Scizor, Volcarona, or Heracross, but you know what they all have in common? A strong second typing. Just saying. Finally, there is no way we can do a video on the worst Pokemon type without at least mentioning one of the worst types to enter the Pokemon games. Ice types. And trust me, we are going to do a lot more than just mention it, because I think we all know how bad the ice typing really is. Firstly, before we get into any of that, I need to get out of the way that the ice type is amazing offensively. They have great attacks in Ice Shard, Ice Beam, Icicle Crash, and Ice Punch, have great abilities in Refrigerate and Thick Fat, and probably the best status ailment in Frozen, even though it's hard to pull off. There's also the fact that the ice types also counter some of the most dangerous types in the entire metagame. Having that coverage for Dragon, Flying, and Ground types is really good to have. But unfortunately, most things the ice types do, other types do just as good, if not even better. Fairies are a better counter to Dragon, Water is a better cover for Ground, and Electric can take care of Flying. And there are a bevy of reasons why these types are better than Ice. First, Ice has few but very bad weaknesses to common types like Fire, Steel, and Fighting. Not only that, but I think the most damning evidence to cement Ice as one of the worst types of all time is its resistances, or lack thereof, I should say. The fact that it has only one resistance, which is to itself, makes it the worst type to add as a dual type, because you'll gain extra weaknesses, lose type coverage, and in most cases gain quad weaknesses. That's why there are very few ice types that actually work in competitive battling. I mean, try and think of some that aren't legendaries. I can only really think of 3, that being Weavile, Mamoswine, and Alolan Ninetales, and all 3 of them have glaring weaknesses. And sure, if you look at it from a realistic standpoint, I get why ice doesn't have any resistances, but that doesn't excuse the fact that it's still bad. And yes, the ice typing does have pretty good stats all across the board, but when you factor in that it has no resistances and common weaknesses, having good defenses doesn't really matter as much. Now, there are moves that help work around it a bit, like Aurora Veil, but that doesn't outright cure the problem. It still makes it bad, it's just not that bad. I don't know, man, if you can't at least agree that the ice typing is bad, then you're crazy. So with all of that being said, which Pokemon is actually the worst? Well, if you factor in everything, the clear-cut worst typing by far has to be the Ice type. I'm sorry to all of you Ice type fans out there, but you have to call a spade here. Sure, Bug and Rock have their very noticeable weaknesses, but they both have redeeming qualities. And with Ice, again, the one thing that cements it as the worst type is the fact that it only has one resistance, which is, again, to itself. Adding Ice as a dual typing would just add more weaknesses to a dual type with no resistances in return, literally crippling the Pokemon. I think if it had at least a couple of more resistances, we would be having a completely different discussion about the Ice type, but it doesn't, so therefore, it's the worst Pokemon type. I'm sorry. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and become an Eryizo today. I'm actually thinking about making some Generation 8 videos because I'm just so hyped for Pokemon on the Switch, so let me know if you want to see that in the comment section. And I just want to reiterate that, again, this is just my opinion, so if you disagree with me, that is completely fine. In fact, let me know why you think I'm wrong in the comments section below, and tell me what Pokemon type you think is the worst. I'd love to hear you guys' points. If you want to check out the previous video I did, be sure to click the annotation on the left. If you want to see some Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon videos, click the other annotation on the right. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.